Welcome back to Changing Lanes, the Hooks Playbook. Today, of course, I'm joined by the owner, Kip Hooks. Kip, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Sean. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I
Good.
I think it's kind of comical that the dogs always want to be involved in these remote recording sessions.
Well, yeah.
And, Piper, we haven't seen Piper today on the episode. I don't know if Piper's going to make an appearance, but Maisie, my dog, certainly wanted to welcome you back to Changing Lanes. This is the official Hooks Lincoln podcast. And if you don't know about Hooks Lincoln, they've been in business in the community for more than 40 years, right? Everyone knows that their service is amazing. And we're going to talk about some of those things in this episode today. It was 50 years ago. Customer service really wasn't about surveys and metrics and 5-star Google reviews. It was about people. It was about handshakes, extra miles, sometimes maybe even pulling a part off of one brand new vehicle to help somebody that needed a little bit of a helping hand on maybe a day that they wouldn't expect it. So today we're going to talk about some of those stories. Kip has a war chest of stories from his own era going all the way back into when the dealerships first started. And we want to get into those today. So, Kip, that's where I really want to kind of start, is a little bit of a contrast between then and now. I'd love to start with kind of the big picture. If you were to describe customer service, say back in your grandpa's day, in a word or two, what would it be? Like, how does it compare to maybe what it means to you today?
Well, I think that, those are the foundational beliefs, and those still stand. They hold true. They're timeless because it's based on, a commitment, appreciation, grace, and I would say, really just humanity. Do what's right. Do what's right to take care of another person. If you have the means, then you have the responsibility of doing what you can to take care of someone if they need it and when they need it. So I think that's kind of a foundational belief that has been rooted in us for generations. And, of course we have stories that go back, and we have, as you said, a war chest of stories. But, when you sit down and say, hey, tell me a story. Well, I'm not, it's going to take me a minute, because it's like they don't all come to you because they're all special, but they're not like all one-offs. It's just one of many that we've tried to do. And it's not a pat ourselves on the back. This is who we are. We believe in taking care of people, and we want to do the right thing. And when you see me out away from here, I don't want you throwing rocks at me. I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy to see me. But it's also more than that. It's about doing the right thing. It really is. So in that respect, it hasn't changed. Just the way we do things and some of the things we can do have changed.
I don't think there's a better way to help people understand really the fabric and what matters and what drives a business than actual stories that are from the experiences that customers have had with that business. In your case, with the dealerships. And it's a two-way street, but the education that comes from it as a consumer, when I put my consumer hat on, when I put my car buyer hat on, I'm always most drawn to dealers who are very involved in the community, and they have all of these real stories of things that built their business. In your case, over decades.
Yeah.
And I know this story because you've shared it with me personally, but on this particular episode, I really want to maybe show that contrast. And so the first one I'd love you to share about is this one about your grandfather, I believe,
Yeah.
who was at the dealership on a day maybe that it was closed. I'd
Yeah.
love to share that story, because later on in the episode, I want you to contrast that with something that's actually a little bit more recent.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
tell
So
us that one.
of course I wasn't there, but it was a story that I was told, and by many people. And, but I had to go, my granddad was a very humble man. I'd had to go ask him about it to tell me about it. And he was, oh, it wasn't that big a deal. But he was up there on a day that we were closed on a weekend, and he had gone by there, and a gentleman was coming through town that that didn't buy their vehicle from us at the time, and it was way back when there wasn't so much technology on vehicles, and he was pulling a trailer with his horses, I believe, and knocked off his mirror. And he was just looking to get some help, and he was knocking on the door. Anybody here? And Granddad was there. Hey, what can I do? Well, long story short, Granddad went and found the tools, went out and took a mirror off of a brand new Ford truck, put it on this gentleman's truck for him, and sent him on his way. Didn't charge him a dime, and took care of him. So the guy was good to go. And, he did it because it was the right thing. He had the opportunity, he had the means, and he was in the right place have to be able to help him. And consequentially, it turned into a customer for life. The guy came back, and the guy would tell that story when he came in to buy a car. And, so it's a success story, but it was a success story before he became a customer for life. That was a nice ending to it. But doing the right thing is just what we believe in. I'll tag on to that real quick. My father had a story he was telling me a couple of days ago. I'd asked him, and said, "Yeah, well, at one time we have a customer who's out of town. Their daughter was at TCU. Daughter's getting ready to go home and had a flat. Well, nobody was here. So my father went up to TCU, changed her flat in the parking lot in the rain, and sent her on her way home. And those two have become customers for life. And another benefit is they turn into friends, because you create a bond, you take care of someone, and that's what we're about, is building relationships and, you know, taking care of our family of clients. And when we have those opportunities, and we're grateful for those opportunities, and always happy to help any way we can. We're not perfect by any means, but we're here and we're committed, and we're going to take care of what we can.
You guys humanize the relationship with a car dealer, with the people you buy a car from. You humanize it in an era where everything is just moving so fast technically. You and I have talked about this off of these episodes, or off camera moments, where the internet just came upon every industry so fast, but certainly automotive. Social media is the same thing. Now AI is doing the same thing. But when you share stories like this is, I think, what people need to know, and that is they're not going to, in a world of massively fast moving technology, they're not going to feel like they're not treated like a human, like you really care about them. I say it all the time. You can't fake caring about people and about things. Maybe for a little while, but only in a little amount of time can you tell when somebody's faking that they actually care. It's just very easy to see through. I wanted to ask you about this particular moment with your grandfather in this horse trailer and all that.
Yeah,
What town was that in?
that happened in Granbury.
That was in Grant. Okay.
That was in
So
Granbury.
so for people that don't know that, and it's your grandfather,
Hmm.
this is at a time where Granbury was much smaller than it is today. For those of you that are
Very
watching
much.
or listening and you are not familiar with Granbury, Texas, west, I guess maybe leaving a little south, but west of Fort Worth by not quite an hour, maybe close to.
Yeah.
And back in your grandfather's era, the impact of him doing that for somebody would have been even more so significant, because there was like no other alternative for this guy. Like,
No.
so I'm curious to know your thoughts. I've got a few follow-ups on that. What do you think like was the thing that made this guy the lifetime customer? Was it just the fact that your grandfather was there? Was it the whole thing that he like, is there something that jumps out to you as to why this guy would say, you're now my dealer for life?
Yeah, I think it was because it's not just so the we look at the ownership experience, and that's from your purchase through owning it, the whole thing. And someone who is when the dealer, the guy whose name is on the wall up there, took the time to go out of his way when no one else is there, instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I can't help you," or "come back tomorrow," or whatever, he made this happen then. And that reflected the commitment that he has and is carried throughout our organizations through time. And so I think it was, of course, it was appreciation for that act, but it was also proof of a commitment to the ownership experience of our clients. Those weren't words we talked about back then, ownership experience. We didn't talk about that stuff. It was just doing the right thing. And he didn't do it to say, he didn't go out there and finish this, say, I'm not going to charge you now. You come back and buy a car from me. Maybe he did, but I don't think he did. And, I think it just happened that way because he wanted to take care of someone. And granddad and my father and it's always we need to take care of a client. What do we need to do? We've got to take care of this client. If there's a problem, if there's not a problem, what are we going to do? And so I don't know. I hope that answers the question you asked. I kind of
Yeah,
started
no, it does. It makes me wonder, do you think that that help first and figure it out later approach was normal back then?
for him. It was,
Yeah.
and for him, it was, it wasn't going to, we're not going to figure out the back end or all this other stuff, what we need to do over here. We're going to take care of this person and then it'll work out. We'll figure it out. So
Mhm.
100%, take care of them now, figure it out later. That was and maintains to be the approach.
How easy do you think it would be for something like that to happen today? Or, I mean, do you think the world's changed too much?
The world has changed and the product has changed and the technology has changed. So the intent hasn't changed. I couldn't go change a mirror for someone right now. Obviously, they're a lot more technical and electric and all that stuff. But if it's something that is easily manipulated, then yeah, I would do that. We would do whatever we can, and the same kind of commitment flows through to going to pick somebody up or doing this stuff. We were doing remote deliveries and pickup and delivery valet service for people long before it was a thing. We didn't have the means to do it for everybody, but we would certainly do it when we could. So I think that it, yes and no. I mean, I couldn't change a mirror, but yes, we still have that commitment to doing what we can at the time to take care of somebody on the spot. And that's, I mean, it's always, nobody wants to wait to be taken care of because if there's a problem, how long, you don't want to have the problem any longer than you have to. So the intention is to resolve that problem now if a problem exists. And typically when somebody comes in for service or they need something on the side of the road or whatever it is, it's something that needs to be addressed. So we want to address everything as fast as we can. So when I see that we have wait times or, to schedule, it's like, oh, it just makes me crazy. But it's the way of the world these days. We can only do so much at a time and we have to do it right. Cause it's not about how do we take care of 20 people in one day. I preach this all the time. It's not how do we take care of 20 people or 50 people or whatever in one day. It's how do you take care of one person the right way and repeat it over and over and over and over. And don't ever shortcut the process. Do the right thing and do it the right way every time for every person.
I
And that
love
that that involves a lot of problem solving, you know, looking for solutions, opportunity finding, if you will, to and it takes a lot of collaboration, as you say. Sometimes it's a one-off, sometimes it's a hey, I need people to come over here and help me out, and we do.
I love this story. I think it's a powerful example of going above and beyond. And I think those going above and beyond stories are really important connectors for people with businesses. I think it speaks a lot to the loyal versus the unloyal. Most businesses don't do the things that build strong loyalty, but you guys have been doing it for decades, and
Yeah.
I know you have um, many of your own stories where you kind of carried this same kind of spirit forward of like being available, eyes and ears open, um, because the opportunities you never know where they may be coming from, where you could be helpful to somebody. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing this. I think it was at maybe a driving range or a
Oh
golf
yeah.
range or something.
Yeah.
Um, I think that'd be a really great contrast to this particular story with your
So it
grandfather.
was. So yeah, that story is I'm was going to hit golf balls one time, and I was standing in the shop there and behind a mother and daughter, and I overheard them asking the person behind the counter if they could look up. I guess they didn't have a smartphone or whatever. Maybe it was before smartphones. Could you look up the number for Hooks Lincoln? And I was like, did I hear that right? And then for some reason, I guess she repeated it to the guy. I said, I kind of, excuse me, are you looking for the number for Hooks Lincoln? And she said, yes. And I said, well, I have the number. And she said, oh, thank you so much. I said, that happens to be me. And introduced myself. I'm Kip Hooks. They introduced themselves, talked to them for a minute. What's going on? Well, our car was doing this and now it's acting up, and we just don't, we're worried about it, and we have a ways to go until we get home. So after a brief conversation, I said, why don't you go get everything you need out of your car, lock it up, put your stuff in my car. I'll drive you home. No, no, you don't have to do that. I said, I don't mind a bit. I promise. Here's who I am. I promise. I'm not being creepy, but this is who I am. There's my license plate, all this stuff. I will have somebody call you tomorrow, come pick up your car and get it into our shop, and we'll let you, and then we'll bring you a car tomorrow if that works. And she said, anyway, long story. I drove them out. It was probably 45 minutes from where we were to their house. Drove them out to their house, dropped them off, left them, got it all set up the next day, went and picked up their car, brought it in, took them a car to drive, and they were very grateful. And I was like, it's just, that's the way I think. I couldn't have gone to sleep that night if I hadn't have done something like that. It would have eaten at me to the point that I just like, that's an opportunity that you missed. I'm not going to miss that opportunity. If I have the opportunity to help someone, to take care of someone, to do anything like that, if it presents itself, I'm going to jump in and help where I can.
So what made you decide to approach her right then instead of maybe waiting to see how it unfolded?
She had a present issue. The guy wasn't forking over the number. And I mean, and I knew, and also I knew that if she called at that time, there wasn't going to be anyone there. So,
Mm.
she was, of course, trying to go that route, but it wasn't going to work because I knew no one was there. So, I need to jump in and help this person. Uh, it, I don't want to see someone stranded. I don't want to see them struggling, or try. What if that was the only car they had and they're stuck and they're trying to figure out a way to get somebody to drive them 45 minutes, and then you don't know what's going to happen. And
Mm.
so, it was a chance to help someone, and I took it upon myself to do so. And, I wasn't thinking about, oh, this could really parlay into something. If I never heard from them again, I wouldn't have changed. I wouldn't have done anything different because it was the right thing to do, and an opportunity to help presented itself. And so I wanted to do what I could to help.
When you look back on that moment, do you see that as a sales, a service encounter opportunity, or maybe both?
Maybe I see it more of a humanity issue,
Mm.
just a chance to help someone. And yes, it resulted in we took care of their vehicle, and they were very appreciative and sent me a card and everything, but it wasn't about that. It was about just being human and wanting to help someone. And I guess you don't always have those opportunities. And when they present themselves, sometimes they're unique like that. Sometimes they're kind of mundane. But nonetheless, every time that you help another person, I think it makes a difference. It does to me. It helps when someone goes out of their way to help me, and it makes me feel like they care. And I think everyone wants to know someone cares about them, and we do. I do. I care about them. I care about our clients. I care about people. So it was an opportunity to help, and I did it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great contrast between somebody who's kind of in crisis. I mean, if you're pulling horses and you have a situation where you knock a mirror off of your truck, almost of any trailer, but certainly if you're pulling your horses, you really care about that. And this
Yeah.
safety, all the worry, that's a bit of a crisis moment. This other one, you're catching somebody at a moment before it slips by when they're in need. Both of them really come down to kind of like you're present, like you're there, and then in those moments you get to choose how are you going to act, and are you going to act. Your grandfather did not have to do a thing. Could have said, I'm
Right.
really sorry, I don't have any mechanics on duty because we're typically closed on a Sunday, and tried to even politely say, if you can swing back in on tomorrow, we can get you
Yeah.
taken care of. But he didn't. He went beyond. And it's the same thing in that moment that you have where somebody's like, I need to get the number for Hooks, have a concern about their car, and you addressed that immediately. Just stepped. I'm certain that those people were probably not expecting the owner of the dealership to be like, I've got the number. That's
Yeah.
me. How can I help?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I make this better for you in this very moment? Not, hey, here is my service manager's title. You didn't do anything like that. You just handled it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that just really speaks a lot to when there's a moment, there's an opportunity, whether it's, an immediate crisis or just an issue that is important and needs to be addressed, that you're present in a moment and then you make the right decision. And as you say often, you did the right thing for the right reason, and you weren't trying to overcomplicate it by, how many people am I trying to address this? You're addressing the person that's in front of you right now with this issue. And I love that. I want to ask you a little bit about some of the things that maybe have not changed. So if we think about present day,
Mhm.
expectations for customers have changed. Technology has massively changed. I talk about that all the time. But there are parts, and I'm curious to know what you think. What parts of that old school service do you think are really worth protecting no matter what?
The commitment and the integrity to, as you stated, take advantage of this in front of you right now. Do the right thing for the right reason right now. When you have it, you have that opportunity. Don't postpone it. Don't make excuses. Don't, there's I have a quote on my board that says, never give or take an excuse. And I'm not going to make excuses. That's just, again, it's ingrained in me, and it's just part of who I am. And that propagates out, and not only across generations, but from us to our teams. And I look for those characteristics when we're adding to our team. And, you know, there are times when we're not immune to turnover, unfortunately. But so that's something that I try to make very evident early on, that, hey, we're all about taking care of our clients, and we want to make sure people are happy. And, we are willing to do what we need to do, within reason, obviously. Somebody says, I want a brand new car. Well, okay, we don't just hand them out. We can't do that. We wouldn't, or you and I wouldn't be talking today. So, I think those kind of things, just the commitment to helping solve an issue at hand, is something that always will always be part of who we are. It's in our DNA. We can't change it. As long as I'm here, it won't change. So, like I say, and I'll probably say it again. So, apologies for the repeated comment, but we're not perfect. We try, and there's miscommunication, or unfortunately, we have turnover. We have new team members, and we got to get everyone up to speed and thinking on the same plane. But it's just it's something we believe in, and we're going to be here. I'm here. People call it, we're present, and there's never an intent to do something that is less than complimentary to the ownership experience.
I got a couple of questions that I want to ask you
Yeah.
before we try to park this conversation for today. And that is, are there tools, is there any tech that you think have particularly helped make service more personal instead of less? Are there things on that tech side, tools that you think have helped in making these better moments of elevated service for clients?
I think so. I think that it boils down to communication. So all the tech that we use, if you really look at it, it's about how we're communicating, whether it's with our client, with our team, with any party. It's so I think that tech has made a difference when it comes to, people can get a hold of, I provide cell phones, mobile phones for my client facing staff so that customers will have their number. They can text them, they can call them, they have, direct number for them. So that being able to contact someone, the golf story, instead of having to ask, hey, can you look this number up? They're going to have it. Of course, they could have looked up our number on their smartphone nowadays, but they might have our direct number, where they can text one of us and get some help if they need it. The way that we communicate back to our clients, not only incoming but outgoing, I think all the technical advances with regard to customer service all kind of center around communication, how it enhances communication and the availability of it makes everything smaller. So we're not so out of touch and, oh, well, I can only call them between this hour and that hour. I mean, hopefully somebody answers. That's not what we want. We want it to be where if you need something, let us know and we're going to take care of it. And there were a lot of people that were worried about, oh, what, they're going to wear me out. They're going to wear me out. No, they won't. They're going to let you know if they need something. And when they do, you help them. And so I think just the fact that we provide those and that we provide those phones and it sends the message to our team and our client that, hey, this is part of what I need to be doing is being available to help when the opportunity arises. So I think that if I had to boil it down, I would say that the technical advances have really improved that area is communication, but communication is everything. It really is. It's at the foundation of everything. We have to communicate internally with our clients, whether it's status, whether it's being available for them to contact us, whatever it is, you know, communication is everything, especially in the luxury world. And so people want to know that we're here. We're not going to our intent is never to be a nuisance or to pester someone. We're here to help when you need us, and we want you to know that. I'm not going to call, do you need this? Do you need this? Do you need this? We're going to call occasionally and say, hey, this is up. You might need this, but typically it's going to be, we're here to help, and you let us know when we can help. Just know we're here. I'm not going to beat you down. I'm not going to be a pest, but we're going to be here when you need us.
Yeah, I love that. Last thing I want to ask you relative to what we're talking about on this episode is if you could make sure that every single Hooks Lincoln customer left with one feeling, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if there's one feeling or one word, but appreciation, comfort, trust, knowing that hey, this is my trusted person. These are my trusted people. I feel whole. I feel confident. I feel that they're going to help me if I need it. I know they got my back. This is my car, and they're going to take care of anything I need. They're going to be proactive to help me, but they're going to be reactive when I need them. And so I think valued, appreciated, uh, trust, those are big ones. I think, that's the way I want people to know that we appreciate them. They're valued and they're at the heart of what we do. We make process improvements. We make changes. We make decisions based on how we're going to help our client. How is this going to affect our clients? Is this going to make this harder or easier? If this is the process, well, don't try to do something over here that falls outside this process. It's going to screw everything up. So let's keep everything in line that makes everything the most logical path to the resolution, whether it's purchasing a car, And that's a whole another story we don't have time for. But the way we change those processes, servicing a car, whatever it is, concern resolution, we take care of it all. What's the quickest way to take care of this, but the most human way? Because our job is to take care of people, right? But our opportunity is to build relationships. And when we build those relationships, then the people, our clients know, our family of clients know that these people have my back. I can trust them. They're going to take care of me. You know, I want them to know that.
Fantastic conversation, Kip. These stories really show that while the tools and the tech might change, actually it always changes, but the heart of customer service doesn't have to. So thank you for sharing a little history, a little wisdom,
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
lot of what makes Hooks Lincoln special. To the audience, well, hey, have you ever had a business? Have you ever had a dealer go above and beyond for you? Think about that. If you've thought of it and experienced yourself and you want to share it with us, we'd love to hear from you. So, drop it in the comments. Until next time, we just want to say thanks for joining us for another episode of Changing Lanes, the Hooks Playbook podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Go Frogs.